Chuck Michelle, Senior Partner Michelle and Associates, with us on the program this afternoon. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Cam. I'm hoping you can hear me okay.
I am. We can hear you just fine. Did we pull you out of court?
I'm in a cell phone in downtown San Diego, getting ready to go in and talk to a bunch of police officers about the Peruta ruling.
Oh, good. Were you invited, or are you forcing your way in?
I was invited before the decision came down, so it'll be interesting to see how they react.
Absolutely. Now, I saw this story in the Orange County Register. Residents of Orange County clearly are reacting. The Sheriff's Department says they're being inundated with requests. And one of the things that I noted, Chuck, is that they say last year it took about a month to process the applications because they didn't get a lot of them. Now they've gotten 500. They've gotten more in the past 2 weeks than they got in all of last year, basically. So they're saying it could be until August or September before these applications are actually processed. And that raised some red flags with me.
It sure does, but it's a little premature to start raising due process claims because they're not processing the applications fast enough. We need to get the Peruta decision finalized first, and that hasn't happened yet. So Orange County is not alone. In San Diego, they're scheduling appointments to review applications in September right now, and in Ventura, I'm informed it's into June. So all of these counties, I'm sure there's plenty of other counties in similar situations, they're all getting backlogged. And ultimately, if this decision becomes final, they're going to have to change their administrative practices so that these applications can be processed much more promptly.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, you don't want to put the cart before the horse, but this is, look, let's just say all things, remaining the way they are now, this status quo is not going to be acceptable. They're going to have to figure out a way, as you say, to improve that.
Absolutely not. That we won't put up with this. They're going to have to, but the whole system is going to have to be reevaluated based on the fact that there will be so many more people applying. And that's typical pretty much for what's happened in other states too. Illinois is wrestling with this right now. What I'm really afraid of is they try and rewrite the system to make it as impossible as possible, so to speak, to get one of these permits at all. They'll try and beef up training requirements or psych reviews or something so that it's harder and harder to jump through what will be more objective hoops. But we'll be fighting each of those things if they try and put those down as roadblocks to getting one of these licenses because, as the court said, this is your fundamental right, and the state has to allow you to carry in some manner.
Absolutely. And, again, because of that, the language in that decision, it really, I think, takes away, I'd like to think anyway, it would take away some of that wiggle room that we've seen post-Heller, post-McDonald, where these jurisdictions go back and they say, all right, we'll write a slightly less onerous version of these regulations, but still won't recognize it as a right. We won't treat this as a right. The Peruta decision almost sounded like that was precluded. You couldn't do this banned by a regulation.
That's right, and although the politicians in Sacramento may try, they'll be on the defense when they do, rather than being on the offense, which is where they're used to. So I think really the best that we can take away from these backlogged applications is that there's always been this tremendous interest, and now we've kind of woken a sleeping tiger. Even though after last year's legislative session, a lot of people were already paying attention, but now I think the politicians and the sheriffs are really seeing how much interest there is in these things, and I'm not sure you can ever put this genie back in the bottle. This bell has been rung, and people are seeing that this freedom is within their grasp, and they're not about to back off and let it slip away again. So I don't know what's going to happen if the Peruta decision becomes final, but I think there's going to be a lot of people voting and a lot of people putting pressure on the sheriffs to issue these regardless.
Yeah, I think you're right. Again, this is very important because in California, virtually all of the media that people are reading and reacting to are presenting this argument that people don't really want this right. It's wrong to think that people have a right of self-defense. And again, what we're seeing on the ground is that repudiation of this ideology that you don't really have the right to protect yourself. Just leave it up to the authorities.
Yeah, these are law-abiding citizens who want to be able to choose to possess the tool that's most effective to defend themselves and their families when they're outside their home and most at risk. And I'm preaching to the choir here because your listeners are very well aware that in the 40-odd states that have this, it works well. So California is just late to jump on the bandwagon, but it's long overdue, and I'm glad we're pushing in that direction.
All right, listen, one more question for you. We'll let you go. Mark Younger writing in online says, Cam, Sacramento has had slow issue, quote unquote, for about 6 years. I was lucky to be one of the first. Do you think the restrictive areas of California will ever be more than slow issue, quote unquote? Do you see a time, Chuck, when we will actually see, a speedy process, or at least a normal process for becoming a concealed carry holder?
The strange thing is, in talking to some police chiefs, if there's not a good cause, just if the issuing authorities don't have the discretion to decide what constitutes good cause, if this becomes like a ministerial type of administrative act issuing these permits, they don't really want it, I don't think. Well, a lot of them don't, at least. And you may see this move to some kind of a state agency or something, the DMV for the CCW or something, instead of coming out of the local sheriffs.
Interesting.
So that's how huge a revamp of the system it may take to get these things processed on time.
All right. Stay tuned, everybody. Chuck Michelle, thank you for your time, sir. Give our best to the San Diego PD, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Always a pleasure, Cam. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir. Chuck Michelle, senior partner at Michelle & Associates, with us here on NRA News, Cam and Company.